I come from the slaves that never left the plantation because they didn't have the skills to move on or to move to other areas. You were doomed to sharecropping. Hunting on other people's land, fishing on other people's land. Essentially, outside of Sunday, you're a criminal. From that area where nothing can grow, you know what I mean? The ivy is taken over, it's badlands. And you gotta understand that these black people made a living, a lifestyle, a community where you're not supposed to. And they flourished. They built churches, they built community centers, they built homes for each other. They built a community. I was born in Montgomery, and we moved to Mobile when I was 6 years old. So the beginning of the 70s, I was here in Montgomery under all of the civil rights heroes. The beginning is, my name is Derek Marshall. I am the son of Dr. James B. Marshall, who was the pastor of Graetz Lutheran, and he retired as Faith Lutheran's minister down in Mobile. My father started a chain of events. He was brought up under Sister Rosa Young.
The story of Black Lutherans in Alabama begins with a woman. Her name was Rosa Young. Father and mother had about 12 or 13 children. He sent his daughter to a college in Selma, Alabama. What was the name of that college? Daniel Payne University. Yes, the name of the school was Daniel Payne University. We're talking about the same people, right? No, they were crossing paths here. She was about 12 years old.
Rosa Young grew up right outside of Selma. a little small community. So this is shortly after slavery. That means her parents would have been actual slaves. So this is in the Reconstruction era. This is in still Cotton is High area. This is the Black Belt. So you're talking about people who have absolutely nothing.
She would go to school sometimes, and then sometimes she had to leave school to work the farm. But eventually she graduated. Maybe she was 15, 16 years old. Then she went back to Rosebud, Alabama, in Wilcox County, rural Rosebud, Alabama. And her dream was to start a school. So she started one in Rosebud. Maybe about 1925 or something. She was a young girl, 17. She had to go and stand before these men and white men and beg for land and beg for building materials and beg for books and desks and so forth. She did. And she opened the Rosebud Industrial Literary Academy. But after a couple of years, it was hard because she just couldn't find support for the school. So somebody recommended that she be in contact with Booker T. Washington at Tuskegee Institute. And a letter that she wrote to Booker T. Washington and his response are in the Library of Congress today, but also in the book that she wrote. Her autobiography is Light in the Dark Belt. They basically say they can't help her, but they send her to the Lutheran Synodical Conference of North America. They came and they looked at her school, and basically they agreed to support it. But what that meant was that they were going to take over. The Synodical Conference came in with a more confessionally based education model. Their idea was to create good Lutherans. Doctrinal Lutherans was their idea. Lord's Prayer, the Ten Commandments, making moral people out of these immoral, uneducated black children in Alabama. What was Rosa to do? She had no way out but to turn her school over to them, and she did. And they did exactly what they promised to do. And they were very successful at it. Within 20 years, they had about 15 or 20 parochial schools all around Rosebud, Alabama. They'd go in first with the school and then erect a church building right alongside it. The Synodical Conference, not the Missouri Synod. And as these schools start generating students, they saw a need for a college, because now you probably need to think about training black people for missional work. And in 1935, they opened Alabama Lutheran Academy and College in Selma. And Rosa Young was added as the dormitory matron.
Sister Rosa Young. The legend is if she touched you, if she put her hand on your forehead, she told your future. And so there were a lot of young men who felt that. And I don't want to undercut, I know that sounds crazy. My father said that some boys would see her coming and would run from her. Her touch meant prophecy almost. And she would do the same with the little girls to make them teachers. So my father's family became teachers and preachers. I'm a teacher. I don't know if my child will be a teacher, but chances are. And we have affected a larger community than probably any other denomination. Probably because of our tolerance, probably because of our community work, and definitely because we have educated everybody in the community. She was the reason why the church in Buena Vista got erected, or the church in Fredericksburg got erected, and all of these German name towns in the middle of Alabama that have an all-black population were just kind of strange to the surrounding communities. But through time, the Lutherans got respected because of their affiliation with education. Her laying of hands on young ministers and teachers, and that legacy is, I think, monumental. There is no monument that I know of, but Rosa Young's contribution should be immortalized. It should be sainthood.
So in many respects, Rosa Young has been called the mother of Lutheranism in Alabama. Her efforts certainly led to the development of a college that lasted into the 21st century. It's only been within 3 or 4 years that the school at 99 years was closed. Hers was a great deal of struggle, but also hers was a great deal of intentionality, and she never gave up on her education ideas.
Historically, through slavery and Reconstruction and sharecropping, that area did not value education, and that was across racial boundaries. Education was not a big thing. Through the Lutherans, education became a viable option. And thank God Sister Rosa wrote that letter to Booker T. Washington, and it's probably the reason why my father was called Reverend Doctor before he died, and it's probably the reason why I have the education I have. It's probably the reason why my daughter will have the education she has. That all of them, and I mean all of them, have master's degrees, doctorate degrees, and you might run across somebody in the middle of nowhere in the sticks. But he's highly educated, and it's because he's Lutheran. We had an affinity for education. We thought that was the ticket out, and it was.
just across the street from this structure was the location of the school. And for many years, it was also the location of this church. We worshiped in the school building. Now, I don't know whether it was originally built for a church or a school, but it had a big room with opening doors that accommodated a great big group of people, and that's where we had church.
The Lutheran school was very strong in this community. It was one of the private schools for black children. The Catholic school was the other.
And one thing we need to let you know that location was so important. This church was located in an ideal place for the blacks. Everything that socially that we needed, was right here for us.
Most of the
education
black
and schools
businesses were within walking distance of this church.
Everything was in walking distance right here.
And this street,
it was Cleveland Avenue then.
Affluent street
Yes.
in the black community.
Yes.
This street, it was Cleveland Avenue
Then, before they changed it to Rosa Parks.
Grandmother was a member here, so she came here and brought us with her. So we ended up coming to this church with my grandmother. So we attended Martin Luther when I was a child, and then I was baptized and confirmed Lutheran.
I cannot meet a person that's lived in Mobile for a long time that does not know about this church and the school that exists. Either they went to the school or they know someone that attended the school. And these are seniors. They ask the question when I say I'm a retired Lutheran pastor, where did you pastor? I said, Martin Luther Lutheran Church. And they said, oh, I know that.
Were both of your parents Lutherans?
Yes, they are.
Yes.
Were they lifelong Lutherans?
My mother and father, no.
No. So how did they become Lutheran?
My mother, we lived close by the Lutheran Church. My mother was into education. Mm-hmm. And the Lutheran Church at that time focused on education of the youth. They had Martin Lutheran School, which Vivian and myself attended. And we grew up through the Lutheran School until we moved from Mobile to Pritchard.
We could go right now to Target's and stand in there and look at somebody that might have a little salt and pepper in their head and ask them, have you ever heard of Martin Luther Lutheran Church? Where? On the avenue? That's the response. Because the church is very famous. The majority of the black people in this area had something to do with this church. This was and is the only Black ELCA church in Mobile, Alabama.
Plus the fact, when we were young, everyone in that church just about had a degree. They were well educated, I can say that about the church. They helps you in many ways.
I tell you what you can look at. Take one of the pictures of 25, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Look at how well each individual was dressed. That explains to you how well the church was doing. Because they're well dressed. They look good. They look like they had something. Whether they had anything or not. But that encouraging teaching showed you, say, hey, you know what? They doing good. Martin Luther had a strong education history. When they first started out, I wasn't around, but the people that was involved in the church was the doctors of Mobile, the education of Mobile. And doing one thing years ago, a postman had a very important position for being in the environment. A postman's job was a great job for a black individual. So we had a well-rounded group of people that enforced the positivity of the things that could happen to you, even though everything was separate.
Right.
It gave you a strong belief.
You had role models.
A role model. Because you got to remember, when we were growing up, it was stone segregation, not integration.
Right.
There's a lot of things that we couldn't do. But Martin Luther School tried to reinforce those things that you couldn't do and bring it out, say, hey, it might not can't do it now, but you need to know what to do and how to do and when to do.
There are a lot of churches in black community, in the black community, and in that community where Trinity Lutheran is located. I think its name has changed now. And so I think that it was indistinguishable generally, with the exception of the Graetz. The Graetz, that's what made the church stand out. What the Graetz brought to that church, the church is, right now, if you visit the church, it's in a solid black community.
We've been there.
Right. So the west, that's the traditional west side of Montgomery, with the largest population or concentration of African Americans in Montgomery. But the way that segregation or segregated residential sort of layout played out in the South, you had a situation, and they have a name for it called marble caking, where you have blocks that are all black, and then maybe behind it will be an all white block. So when you think about a segregated residential city, southern city, pre-1970s city, it's not one like block of black residents and then a block of white residents. So there were white folks who lived on the fringes of where the church is located, and Robert Graetz was pretty resolute in his ideas on race, and so he came to Montgomery sort of with a set of ideas and principles that he was not going to sort of betray. He did things like mow his lawn, which sounds innocuous, but in the skewed economic reality of the South, the wages for African Americans were so depressed that even moderate income white folks could afford to pay a black person to mow their lawn. So it was seen, a white man mowing his lawn was seen as sort of derogatory. It was something that you didn't do. You had a black person to mow your lawn. Well, Reverend Graetz would mow his own lawn, They had a huge tire, and they filled it up. They put a tarp in it and filled it up with water and let the kids in the neighborhood and their kids play in the water. And they called it the first integrated pool in Alabama. And there was retribution for it because The house was bombed on several occasions. They received death threats.
My dad and mom were both very outgoing, kind, caring people, so immediately upon coming here, they introduced themselves to the community and literally walked around and met people on the street, went and knocked on doors and introduced themselves and, let them know what was going on and, hey, we live over here and you're welcome to come to church and whatever. Just wanted to introduce myself. And shortly after coming here, he started meeting people like Rosa Parks and a lot of the other community organizers in the area and welcomed them to do meetings and things in the church and just got very involved in hearing what the community needs were. So anyway, the family was very well accepted here and we loved being here. Not too long after we moved here, there had been organizing going on all along for all kinds of situations here, but especially for what was happening on the buses and the discrimination that Black people were getting with their treatment on the buses.
People were coming and visiting the church every Sunday. We had to put extra chairs down the center aisle because people were interested in seeing the white pastor. It was the pastor of a all-black congregation. And those were troubling, difficult times. But the congregation became closer, working together and worshiping together. And as I think back, I don't remember openly fear or being afraid, but unwavering faith is what I remember.
We had a lot of threats against us, and not just phone calls, but slashing our tires, putting sugar in the gas tanks. I know one time they put a rifle in the back of my dad's car. So when they arrested him, they had arrested him for having a concealed weapon that they had put in there. And people were so afraid of him going into the jail with the people that would be in there that he would not come out alive. I mean, this was how deeply troubling some of the situations were here.
I guess my most memorable moments were during the civil rights boycott. Yes, the civil rights movement is so important in history, American history. And I was fortunate enough to be here when Pastor Graetz was here, when they bombed the parsonage and all, and I can remember, I guess I was about 12 or 13. And I can remember the congregation and their resilience. I don't ever remember the church being closed or not having service because of the bombing of the parsonage.
While we lived here, twice our house was bombed, and we lived in the little parsonage right next to the church here. The first time, we were actually at a little conference in Tennessee, and we were learning about organizing and so forth, and we'd gone there with Rosa Parks, and we got a call that our house had been bombed. made a big crater in the front of the house and broke windows and shook things up and just broke a lot of stuff. The second time was actually after the boycott was over. And the Ku Klux Klan again sent a group of guys, and they threw one bomb at the house. It landed somewhere in the driveway right beside the house, and then the fuse went out. So apparently what they did is they came back with a smaller bomb that was meant for another location, and they threw it towards the first one to try to reignite that. And that one did go off, and we were in the house that time. I can't remember, it was in the middle of the night, and one of my brothers had just been born like 8 days prior to that. He was still a little baby. Ku Klux Klan used to regularly drive by here and let us see that they were watching. And they would drive by slowly with their rifles out the window so that we would know that we were being watched. And this one particular time, we were outside playing with our neighbor friends, and the moms saw them coming by and frantically got the kids all inside again. That's how intent people were against the work we were doing. Going back to Rosa Parks, she was one of the kindest people I think I've ever met in my life.
Rosa Parks lived right across the street, and I did too. Grew up in that neighborhood. I lived over in the housing project, and she lived in a unit, a couple of units over from where I lived. I often saw her going and coming to and from work, because we both rode the City Lines bus. I was going to school and she was going to work. She was a very quiet, soft-spoken person. Very, very kind, real easy to know. She organized a youth group over here. She did not attend the church, but she organized a youth group over here, and she would come on Sunday afternoons, and we would meet and talk about the NAACP and what it meant to us. And that's basically our interaction and her participation as far as our church is concerned.
It's a balancing act, and a psychological and intellectual balancing act. To be a black man studying the American South, living in the American South, reading about the atrocities that were perpetuated against and on black people for several hundred years in this space. And to not be jaundiced by that, right? And so the Graetz were really therapeutic for me, you know, to have people who to me were so pure of heart and altruistic, sort of bring me back, you know, when sometimes I could be so immersed in a really difficult story.
Things were just that day.
Yeah, but let me say this to you. Brother Luther tried to set an example for us. He went down to Walgreens downtown by himself and stood at the table where the whites only.
Okay.
And they told him, "You better get out of here." Reverend Rute said he was a Jamaican, or what was it?
Yeah, something.
And they said, "We don't have blacks. We don't have blacks." He said, "I'm not black. I'm Jamaican." But the thing was, he was trying to teach us in his own way, was saying, hey, might be different color, but the food tastes the same. And that's why he was willing to go to jail, but they didn't take him to jail. They told him to get out of there. But that was set an example way before anything happened for us to sit down in North Carolina and other things.
Right.
But he did do something as a good example.
And so that old paraphrasing Luther's saying, God don't need your good works. I appreciate it, but he could do it without you. But your neighbor, he needs it. Being in the community, being seen in the community, being always one to help. The civil rights movement always been on the forefront of the civil rights movement. The marches, the protests, the Lutherans were always there. Theologically, we had it right. Community-wise, we had it right. Education-wise, we had it right. There was so much good in the Lutheran community that it permeated the overall community. And I can prove that from Montgomery to Mobile to Birmingham to Pensacola. My family has 5 Lutheran ministers, so. But we're still losing people to other denominations who are offering viable ways to get that. The Lutherans have always had a high bar for ministers. And the closing of Concordia in Selma was devastating. Even in our merger, even in our consolidations, we don't do the things that made us viable. And that's the schools. That's the scholarships. That's reinvesting in your own communities, in your own people.
So you ask what changed? Education changed. Ideas changed. Exposure changed. You know, sometimes when nobody been in one place and they never been exposed to anything, that's what you're gonna get.
Integration. It was all the way because Mrs. Rute, that's one reason why she tried to keep the school open. So that you still will be equal within yourself. Yeah. Marriage, education are 2 major reasons that attendance is not as large as it has been.
I remember when it was much larger. I remember when most of the people who attended here were community people, because we definitely served the immediate community. Many of the people from the community, the housing community, attended this church and the surrounding. However, we drew some from further distances. had to do with economics more than anything else, but ultimately we realized that we were not going to be able to compete with public schools for a lot of reasons. The services that they all could offer, we couldn't afford to offer, such as special education, special needs children, and extracurricular activities that many of them wanted to participate in that the public schools did sponsor. So those kinds of things led us to know that we just couldn't compete anymore. And we had a fight with parents about it. We hated to close, and when we told them about it, they just all went to pieces and really didn't want to let it go, but we knew that we couldn't hold it anymore because financially it was a strain on the church. The church supported it financially, but tuition played a great part.
There are so many unsung African Americans that were so vital in the civil rights movement and did so much in the early Lutheran churches. I was just sitting here wishing, my mother and my father, they knew so much. Rosalind's mother, Pastor Thompson and his wife, so many people that have gone on. How wonderful it would have been for them to have, been here to say something. And yes, just share. It's so many people that did so much.
Our congregations, as is our denominations, declining in many ways. That was my responsibility as assistant director for evangelism. I think we need revival. Our denomination needs revival so that we can experience our baptism over and over again as you experience it when you take your shower every morning, and then go forth and make disciples of all nations. That's where we're slipping. And we're slipping because we're trying to hold on so desperately to the past and not reach up to the future.
As a family affected by Rosa Young and Booker T, as a product of a child of people that were educated at Concordia Selma, and have suffered from Reconstruction through civil rights movements, through the drug era. We're still here. We have not given up our religion. We have not given up our theology. Our numbers have gotten smaller, but we're still here doing God's work. We're still here spreading that Lutheran message, still trying to do right by our neighbor.